Good evening and welcome to Real World News TV.
Good evening. Welcome to Real World News TV. I'm one of your co-hosts, Reggie Kearney, and my other co-host, Sharon Tappett. Seems like she's frozen. So tonight, hopefully she'll be back on in a second. If not, I'm sure Tony will come in and help us out tonight. We want to talk about the code scales of injustice and entitlement. And we've looked at a number of cases going forward that has been taking place here in this country at this time. One deals with the killing of Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia, and the other one deals with Kyle Rittenhouse in Wisconsin. And we want to discuss tonight the differences that we see on how justice is served on whites versus blacks. So we want to just have an in-depth discussion of how that affects the country. Across the board, we see this happen, not just in Georgia and in Wisconsin. We see it all across the country. So what are your thoughts, Tony? Tony's our producer, so she's going to pinch hit for Sherry-Ann until Sherry-Ann thaws out.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her back in. It seems like we've got some technical things going on even in our chat area. But you know what? We were having this discussion before you guys actually came on live. I don't know if I would be a good person to ask about these trials. I've had this, my television's tuned to court TV from the very beginning. And I think from the very beginning is when I started to see the differences between the Ahmaud Arbery case and the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And it all started with the state and how they handled the Arbery case. They've mishandled it. They have mishandled it. They are not prepared. They're bringing in information that should be shared. They are not being, I don't think they're being forceful enough in making the case. Then we talk about Kyle Rittenhouse and how his case is being handled. Then again, we've got the prosecution team that is fumbling the ball. You've got the defense team who is playing on the emotions of white America, painting the picture, this is a kid, when everyday black boys from the age of 14 to 16, 17 years old are tried as adults and treated as adults in this judicial system. So I don't know if I'm a good person to ask that question because I could throw a wrench in it all. You got chair back. That might be your best bet.
Sorry about that, guys. My computer just decided to shut off.
But let's look at the Ahmaud Arbery case, and you see this throughout America now, where white politicians or white lawyers or any whites of the establishment are trying to use color and race as a way to get around the situations or to dilute the situations and make them seem like, hey, it wasn't our fault, it was their fault, for that, and I'm gonna call the lawyer out the way I see it. I see him as a racist, and I see racism in that case when you sit there and say, I don't want to see any more black preachers or pastors in this courtroom. Okay, the jurors are not going to be intimidated by pastors sitting in the courthouse, and plus a lot of them probably don't even know who they're looking at. Okay, because the lawyer couldn't even get it straight. He was listening to somebody else. He had Jesse Jackson there the wrong day when it was Reverend Barber who was there. It wasn't Reverend Jackson. So it just shows how they'll try anything and use color or race or anything they can think of to diminish the person that was killed and diminish the real reason why they should be there, just to get their defendants off.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Color is only in that perspective, it's only relevant when it's a person of color. You didn't hear him complaining about any of the Proud Boys sitting in the pews watching the case. But there's, to channel my inner Tony Breedlove, there was a lot of fuckery going on from the day that Kyle shot those individuals to, the court case now, from the police officers allowing him to leave the scene. This boy who comes from a different state, doesn't live there, had no business being there to begin with. These weren't his businesses to protect. He wasn't personally invited to shoot three people, and be allowed to leave the state with his weapon. The whole nonsense going on with his convenient change of address, and the judge allowing that as an excuse and not holding him in contempt, revoking his bail, to taking pictures with the Proud Boys and flashing the Proud Boy gang signs, and people saying that this has nothing to do with race. It's disgusting.
Well, it all has to do with race. I mean, okay, as a defense lawyer or as a prosecutor, you have to try the case. Okay, you have to use the methods that you've been taught or trained with to try to win the case, especially as a prosecutor. Because you got to show the proof and show the reason why that person should be found guilty. When it comes to the defense is going to try to paint a picture of their client that's favorable. Okay,
of course, yeah.
So they're going to use whatever tactics they can use, whether it's fair or unfair. They're going to use it. But to me, that shows how the country is just really going downhill now. In both cases, in a lot of cases throughout the country, even with Blake's case, for the police officers not being charged for shooting a man 7 times in the back. Okay, come on now. The guy has his back turned towards you, and you just pumped 7 bullets into his back. Okay, come on, man. It's just utterly BS. So these guys, same thing with Arbery, the Arbery case, his killing. They trying to use this old antiquated law of self-defense. I mean, of citizens' arrest. That's what they're using. That's what they're basing their case on.
But he wasn't even a citizen of that state. So how can he be covered under that?
The three guys were. All were. They all from Georgia.
Kyle wasn't from there.
No, I'm not talking about Kyle. I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about Maud Arbery.
Okay.
They're all from Georgia. But they're trying to use whatever method they can to get get these 3 guys off, and if these guys get off, they'd be the proudest defense lawyers in the country. When they know good and daggone well that these guys did the crime. It bothers me when lawyers would take cases where they know that clients are guilty, just to get them off,
I guess it boils down to guilty by whose standards or by what moral standards. If they still say, look, every supporter of Kyle that I've come across online in social media is also a Trump supporter. And so you're already dealing with a segment of the population that has a hard time acknowledging reality and is particularly gifted at reinventing the narrative and spinning the narrative and swallowing whatever bullshit is given that allows them to keep this psychotic cult of narrative that they have. As we said before the show started, if Kyle gets off, and even if he doesn't, but if he gets off, he is this year's Zimmerman. And he is going to be the poster child for the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys and all of these other people, the MAGA people. You've got an elected official who, after Kyle turned himself in and was released on bail, posted a tweet, Kyle for Congress. You have Trump saying Kyle is a good example of Trump liking a tweet from somebody saying Kyle's a good example of why I decided to vote for Trump. So you've got this really bizarre psychosis going on in the country where these folks, these entitled people, feel as though it's entirely appropriate to arm yourself and go to another state and interject yourself into something you have nothing to do with and shoot people. And if those people happen to have anything hinky in their background, then that shooting is justified, regardless of whether or not they were in the midst of committing a crime or not. You know, one of the gentlemen that was killed had served time for, I don't know if it was sexual assault or some sexual thing with a minor. That's all we're told. We're not told the facts of it. It could have been a minor younger than him by 1 year. I don't know. It could have been, you know, a parent that was upset that this was a boyfriend, or, you know, I mean, there are nuances to that. Now, if you're talking about a child and an adult, that's a different story. But still, he served his time, and he wasn't in the act of doing that at that moment. But these Kyle supporters are basically boiling it down to 3 criminals, one of them being a pedophile, so they deserved to be shot in the street, and that's it. Be done with it. But, you know, God forbid, if that had been a person of color that went to another state, went to the heart of Oklahoma to some protest that they had nothing to do with and shot 3 people, 2 of whom might have had mental health issues or criminal background, they would not be singing the same tune. So I'm really sick of this fallacious self-righteousness that these people try to claim to make this all right. This is supposed to be a land of laws. This is supposed to be a land where we're treated equally. We know we're not, but it's just ridiculous. And you look at what some of the defense has said, you know, telling other people like the fella who survived the shooting, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Why didn't you run? You know, if somebody's pointing a gun at you. Well, the prosecutor said the same thing to Kyle. If you were so threatened in that environment, why didn't you run and extricate yourself from that situation? You had the biggest weapon, the biggest stick. But it seems like the narrative that they want to use to protect and defend Kyle has been used for some of the people on the witness stand, but the prosecutor wants to deny them that tool, as if it's not relevant for them, but it's relevant for Kyle Rittenhouse, who did an extremely poor job of fake crying on the stand. What are your thoughts?
Well, he didn't have a good teacher, acting teacher, you know. Mm-hmm. And it was obvious it was planned, you know, and that's one of the reasons that he probably was given the defense gave him the opportunity to testify and holler out that he was doing this in self-defense, you know, and they probably told him at a certain time that you need to bust out crying and, you know, like you're getting a choke on your saliva or whatever, you know. But, you know, the thing, you know, what happens is that, you know, a black kid doing this, you know, would have got probably strung up, hung up, and the prosecutor probably wouldn't even done a decent presentation of the facts, you know. They would just allow him to just, you know, just to sink.
Yeah.
You know, just allow him to sink, you know, with a black kid. But you got to realize in this case, I think it's going to end up in a hung jury because I think he's got 5 women as jurors. It's, you know, their motherly instinct's going to kick in. And they're going to say, well, I can't send this boy to prison for for the rest of his life. And I think that's where the hung jury is going to come up at. I think, too, you know, you got one person of color on there. That could cause a hung jury, too, where he might say the guy is guilty and they might come back and say he's innocent. You know, so it's a lot of nuances there that, you know, might play out in his favor. But, and like they said, you know, hopefully they can resolve this thing then, because they say a retrial is going to be harder for the prosecutor with a retrial.
You know, what just really irks me is just like with the people who supported the insurrection and the people who proudly advertised their intent and to lean towards violence, who went there with zip ties and weapons and pipe bombs and broke glass and broke in and threatened people and threatened to kill all of these people. The supporters were like, no, that was Black Lives Matter. No, they were just tourists. That didn't happen. It's so-and-so's fault, so-and-so's fault. They don't have the courage of their convictions. And here again, we have the same thing. His own mother turned around and said in an interview that the police should have done a better job of protecting property and vehicles and whatnot, and should have been using a 17-year-old for this purpose. The police didn't use him. She sent him. She allowed this boy to go to Kenosha for this purpose. And frankly, if we either believe the tears and the fear or we don't, right? But clearly, he was not well trained in the use of that weapon. He might have known how to point and shoot it, but not deal with stressful situations like this protest. So for him to willy-nilly start shooting people, I mean, thank God no children were shot or no mothers were shot or other people. He didn't know what he was doing. He was just out there to psychically wank off and point this gun and feel like a big man, like he's done something. And it was a perfect storm because you had the Kenosha police basically deputize people online and say, we need you guys to come here. So you had the Proud Boys or Boogaloo Boys there. You had biker gangs there. All of these people there with weapons who had nothing to do with the protest whatsoever, inciting the violence, much like they have done at many of the protests during the summer of unrest, the civil unrest. You've got a mother who doesn't know, can't rub two pennies together to make 1 cent, sending her son into harm's way. If they genuinely believed that this protest was that threatening and that potentially violent, why send your 17-year-old son there? You want to protect your son. Now, if the protest is outside your house, I may understand him standing outside the house to protect what's yours, but you sent him on a bus or whatever to Kenosha to do this. And then to sit back and point a finger at the police, there's no sense of accountability here. You don't go there with that kind of machinery. It just boggles the mind. And again, something we talked about before the show started, if that protest was that violent and that scary, why is it the only 3 people who were shot by Kyle? And we already know from the testimony that there were multiple people there with guns.
Well, one thing you got to look at when it comes to the mother, a lot of these Trumpsters or whatever you want to call them, their intellect isn't that high. The educational indulgence isn't that high. So they get sucked in and get indoctrinated to this crap that's going on around them, that's being said around them. In her little mind, she really felt like she was doing something by letting her son go over to participate. And I'm pretty sure that it was a thing can I go? Can you take me over there? Then you got to look at him. You got somebody, like you said earlier, who's dropped out of school, couldn't get into a nursing program. First you got to get his GED first, and he didn't even try to get that. But you have someone looking for a purpose, okay? Looking for a purpose in life. So he goes over here, like you said, and I think I saw one picture where it was a guy standing next to him with an AR-15, doing this episode, before the guys got shot. So you send somebody over there who, first of all, the maturity isn't there to have that type of gun in a situation like that. But you send him over there to be a part of a situation with grown men to protect.
Like at summer camp.
Yeah. And so you see when he was going away, I'm sure it did scare him. He should have been. He better be glad he wasn't in Minneapolis doing that. They probably taking his gun and beat him with his gun.
Or New York. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was obvious he was scared. He did not have the maturity to handle the situation.
And the police allowed him to be there.
And he goes down there waving his hands up. It's obvious he realizes what he's done, and he wants to turn himself in. And he goes down with his hands up, and the police just ride past him. Now, if there had been a young black kid walking down the street with his hands up, yeah, they would have been shot. They would ask him questions later after they shot him. Why are you walking down the street with this gun?
Yeah. Even in a right to carry state.
Yeah, or either if they didn't shoot him, they would have roughed him up when they stopped and tried to figure out why he's got a gun.
There needs to be an investigation into the Kenosha Police Department, because there is evidence that they were fraternizing with white supremacists. And, the FBI has clearly stated that white supremacists are a national security threat. They have no business doing it. And they should be sued by all 3 families of the men who got shot.
It's a threat, but who cares? Who cares about that threat? And that's the problem you have here in America now. Everything is a threat, and we know it's a threat, but nothing is being done about it, okay? one of the things I look at is our current president and the current attorney general. They have the opportunity to get so much done in this area where it comes to policing and to the way blacks are being treated by the justice system, okay? But you're not hearing anything about it, okay? They've got an excellent civil rights lawyer there. Uh, she, she's great, but you know, they might be investigating some stuff now. I don't know. I mean, he hasn't even been in office for a year, but it seems like this would have been something that he would have jumped on very quickly and to push and to find out. You know, 4 years goes by fast, okay? And if you don't jump out the gate doing stuff, before you know, 4 years has come or midterms have come and you get a pushback from the Republican Party about what you're doing, you know, investigating policing and stuff. But you're right. There needs to be an investigation, you know, but it's not going to happen. You know, it's not going to happen. The police that we have now is just a snapshot of the slave patrols that we had during the time of slavery. It's just continued on. And these guys, like the Klan said years ago, we can't wear our uniforms, but we can wear other uniforms and still get the job done. And that's what you have. And so it's out there. Domestic violence, white supremacy is a threat to American society. Okay.
Now what?
No.
I'm just disgusted. You know, yesterday, getting ready for the show, I was looking at various news articles and you know, seeing what the temperature was on social media and looking at posts, and the number of people who are praying for Kyle and saying that he's not guilty and it was self-defense and all of this business, and of course calling anybody who disagrees a libtard and you know, all this same language that they used during Trump. And I'm like, they're like, well, you clearly didn't watch the testimony. I'm like, you don't know what the hell I watched or read, you know. And but
they don't care. They don't care. You know, like you said. Okay, the mother was making a plea today for money. You know, they need. I think the bill for November is going to be right around 110,000. You know, they should.
The MAGA people got her.
They should have got a what you call them, the lawyers that help you out for free. That's what they should have gotten. So now they're making a plea, you know, to get the money, $110,000, okay, that they need. And if he's found guilty, they're gonna probably still trying to keep raising money for his appeals and stuff.
Of course they will.
There are people out there that are supporting him. You know, I wish I could get the list of people giving money because I like to see if I got any of these local guys here in my area that have donated, because I'm pretty sure they have. You know, I would like to call them out and, you know, and bust that bubble and everything, you know, because they are out there, you know, supporting crap that doesn't need to be supported.
Yeah.
You know, and the same thing, I'm sure the same thing is happening in Georgia with the 3 peanuts that are on trial now for the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. I'm pretty sure there are people out there, because if you look at how this case began, once this shooting took place, the prosecutor and the police department wanted to, you know, put it under the rug because the old man had been a special investigator and had been a police officer at one time. So they were willing to turn their back on the killing of a young black man just to protect some yoki dope that, you know, probably can't even spell his own name, just to keep him out of jail. And, you know, I still wonder how that tape came out, but I'm pretty sure whoever leaked that tape out was somebody that's just got disgusted by the whole thing and said, look, justice has got to be served.
Yeah.
And if that person had never leaked the tape out, Ahmaud Arbery's killing would have just been swept under the rug. Nobody would have never known who killed him.
Yeah.
That's basically how it was.
Yeah.
You know, because it was a black person, you know. And, you know, you have some people saying that with the Kyle Rittenhouse case, that with white on white crime, they generally convict. Like I said, it's 5 mothers on that jury. You know, 5 women that the mother of the instance will kick in Hey, we can't let little Cal stay in there till he died.
Yeah, but their motherly instincts won't come into play with respect to three people he shot and the two people he murdered. You know,
Yeah.
And it's just, I wish that the prosecutor had been stronger and better prepared. You know, 30 some odd witnesses. That to me, it's a joke that the defense can hang their hat on this notion of self-defense. I will only buy self-defense for the first person that he shot. But after that, the other two individuals weren't a threat to him. You know, you had one guy who was, I mean, this is what I don't understand about right to carry and giving gun permits to people. You can't tell the good guys from the bad guys, right? So if you're in a crowd of people and you see some guy shoot somebody, if you are the type of person who wants to protect others around you, you're going to go after the person who just shot somebody, try to disarm them. That's common sense. That's heroic. That's a thing to do if you have a sense of community and give a shit about your fellow man. To dismiss the actions of those other two men when you've got it on audio where they're saying not just let's beat him up, but why? He just shot somebody. They were trying to stop this guy. They thought this was an active shooter. And nobody was doing anything about it. The police weren't doing anything about it. You hear a gun go off. How many times? One guy was shot 4 times. Then you have the one guy who was shot in the arm who survived, and then another fellow who died. So there must have been at least 6 or 7 shots fired, and the cops didn't show up. It's disgusting.
Nobody showed up. Even the knuckleheads that were there to be protection, they didn't even show up.
Of course not, because he was shooting the protesters, which is what they wanted. Yeah.
But this is the thing. They left him out there. They hung him out to dry. Okay, that's basically what they did. They didn't want to have no parts of it because they knew what was happening was wrong. So look, oh no, I'm not going to get involved there. I'm not going to protect him and everything. But see, the thing, you know, why they keep pushing self-defense is because one of the guys hit him with a skateboard. Whoop-de-doo, you get hit with a skateboard.
Wouldn't you? If somebody is shooting you, if somebody has a gun pointed at you or is threatening to shoot you, or you think that they are a threat to everybody else around you, wouldn't you use whatever is at your disposal to disarm that individual?
But the thing is, he had the upper hand because he had a gun. And I think the only reason, the only reason the other guy didn't shoot him, because I think he looked at him and saw a kid. And that was the only reason he didn't shoot him. You know,
and a lot of good that did him, eh?
But he had the right to shoot him because he had shot him. So he had every right to shoot him if he wanted to.
Tried to de-escalate.
Yeah, he saw a kid. Yeah. With an AR-15.
Yeah.
Now he probably wishes that he had gone ahead and blown his head off. You know.
If he wasn't 18 years old, I would say call protective services on the mother. That was just gross. Absolutely.
Well, the mother needs to go on trial for just bringing them over there. Okay, I mean, she needs to be held accountable also.
Absolutely.
On something, child. I mean, he was under 18, so child endangerment. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's basically what she did. She put him out there in harm's way because her little peanut brain has gotten indoctrinated with this stuff that the orange head keeps pushing. Okay. And it's very disciplined. But again, you're talking about prosecution preparation. You look at how prepared they were in George Floyd case, in his death, and going after the police officer. They put in the time. I mean, when I say they put in the time, they put in the time for the months before to be well prepared. And I think that's one of the reasons they're having a hard time getting these 3 other officers in court, because I think their lawyers realize that, hey, we're going up against something that these other 3 police officers could end up in prison also.
Yeah.
Because of
although I don't think all 3 of them will get the same kind of judgment again as Derek, and we talked about that on other shows.
Oh yeah, they won't. But they're gonna get some time. I mean, because especially the one that stood there and just watched the crowd and didn't do nothing. I mean, I think he's more he's gonna get some time because he had every opportunity to break this thing up, but he's gonna stand watch to make sure nobody comes over and stops the other guy from killing George Floyd. You know, but like I said, we see injustices all around the country. You know, when it comes to blacks in the court system, even for something as simple as a traffic ticket can be a nightmare if you're black and going in court.
A death sentence.
Yeah, and it also depends on what court you're going into, what city, what part of the South, or what part of the North, or what small city. You know, that can traffic ticket can be held for you.
You know, we talked a little bit about this before the show, and I don't know if I can really express myself aptly on this, but you know, we've talked about lost souls. You know, I've met people, and you know, not talking about Kyle or anybody, but I've met people who may not have finished school, but were well read, you know, pursued other activities in their life and nurtured their brain in some way. But you could tell that if they had finished school, that they would have been one of the sharpest tools in the shed, and they could have made something of their lives. And we've seen a lot of that in our community. And I see a little bit of that when I see Kyle. He had no chance in hell. But that empathy I lose because he is a young man now, capable of identifying what is right and wrong. And then after he's out on bail, to be posing with known white supremacists doing the okay sign, wearing a t-shirt that says what, free as fuck and all of this. And he showed no remorse for what he did. And then to fake cry on the stand was deplorable.
Mm-hmm.
So
again, like I said earlier, he has found his calling. Okay, you know, and for him, okay, he's a white supremacist now. Whoop-de-doo, I'm a white supremacist now. I'm a known white supremacist. I've got people asking me for my autograph. I'm 17 years old, going on 18. You know, I'm a superstar around the country. Everybody knows my name.
Yeah, well, like we said, he's the next Zimmerman.
Yeah, and that's what, and his mother probably feels the same way. Oh, my son is a superstar,
a martyr for the cause, a superstar.
Yeah, you know. And so for him, if he never works or he never writes a book or he never does anything, he's had his time in the sunshine. Okay. And he's proud.
This is like some bizarro world alternative to being the school jock who rides that wave as long as they can and then winds up being a 40-year-old person in the same job, you know, in the same bar, and a wife beater who's amounted to nothing in life. But you know what I find interesting and disturbing is that, you know, we live in a country that would love nothing more than to obliterate our history, to whitewash and eliminate any semblance of information or historical fact about our contributions to the birth and development of this country, whether it's us or immigrants. And we look at who they've posted up as heroes. You know, they jammed down our throat Christopher Columbus, and he didn't even discover America. It's not even true. Mm-hmm. They jammed down the notion of Washington and the cherry tree, also anecdotal, not true. And they call it history. And they seem so desperate for heroes right now, which is very strange to me, because we've spent our entire life in school learning about their heroes and their history. But they're so desperate for heroes that they cling to Trump's scrotum. They look to people like Zimmerman and Kyle Rittenhouse as their heroes, as if these are like folk heroes that are going to take them out of whatever the misery it is that they're experiencing. And the only misery is this notion of equality that they think steals something from them. And it's just so bizarre to me. You know, their heroes aren't people who've necessarily invented things. And I'm not talking about all Americans or all white people. I'm talking about the MAGA group. I'm talking about the 70 million who are clearly cultists. That they put these people on a pedestal, and they've literally accomplished nothing more than murder.
But you can't put the whole 70 million in the group.
I do. At this point, I do.
No, I'm gonna tell you why. We don't want to sound like that other network, Fox. Okay, You know, we know there's a percentage of them, because I know people who voted for him because they're just straight up Republicans, and that's where they favor. That's where their loyalty lies, in the Republican Party. They can't stand the man, but they voted for him. So we don't want to lump them all together, but we can say there's a quiet, you know, out of the 70 million, I would say it's 50 million of them that really drank the Kool-Aid. Okay.
Look, after 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
after 4 years of his first term, to have
Mm-hmm.
70 million vote for him again, knowing what he did during those 4 terms, knowing the rape allegations about him, knowing the racism and the xenophobia and the grift and the conning and the lying and the inspiring the insurrection, still voting for him after 4 years, I don't buy voting on the party line anymore.
You blame him? I blame the prosecutors. I blame people that had the opportunity to bring this man down for many years, okay? And they didn't try anything, okay? Like I said, I don't care. If I was president, my legacy says I took down another president, so be it. I did it for the right reasons, okay? And like I said, Biden and his attorney general, they have the opportunity to correct the wrong. But I guess it's this unspoken code that you don't go after the past president.
This guy
has done so much crap. He's a criminal. We all know he's a criminal, but it comes down, even as a private citizen, it comes down to the prosecutors. What's going on with the case in New York City now? You don't even hear nothing about it no more. What's happening?
Let me add to your point there. I agree with you that the prosecutors were weak, they were scared, or he had some dirt on them, one or the other. But at the end of the day, those 70 million had a choice. So the prosecutors failed us. We didn't have to fail ourselves. We could have resoundingly voted him out. But 70 million people, more than a third of the country, still voted for him.
Yeah,
after those 4 years. So no, they don't get a pass on voting the party line to me. They did the first time, not the second time.
You know, this is my thing. When it comes to voting in politics, okay, people, they probably look at us and say, you all 80 million people voted for somebody that might not even make it through the 4 years, okay?
Knock on wood.
You know, so we all look at each other, you know, we all look at each other with a different set of eyes. They're probably looking at us for being crazy for voting for Biden, and we're looking at them for being crazy for upholding him.
That's unusually kumbaya of you, Reggie.
Yeah, I don't care about the votes, okay? We got to do what we got to do to protect ourselves. What I care about, you know, are those politicians, and that's why I say you got to drill down to the local level, and you got to look at your congressmen too. Some of these guys need to be kicked out of office for the way they do business, okay?
Drop kicked.
You know, drop kicked out, but we know that's not going to happen. That's why I said somewhere in New York City, there's got to be a prosecutor that has the balls enough to say, look, I'm going after him now. He's a private citizen.
I'll see if I can do some research. I've been so busy at work. I don't have the time, but
stuff starts and then you don't hear nothing else about it. And see, that's why he's been so clever at using the justice system in his favor, because he's always drug everything out. He just draws everything out because he knows there's always going to be an end date. Like they said, if you don't get this man into an orange jumpsuit soon, he'll be running for president again in 24.
If he doesn't have full-blown dementia by then.
He'll still run.
But tell me something, Reggie. You're a judge. Explain to me what the hell is going on with this judge, in that he allows Kyle to pick from that bingo-esque type thing to select the jury, that he lets him sit behind him when he's watching the video, that he reprimands the prosecutor for the line of questioning, which was totally valid. What the hell is going on?
It's a subliminal way of getting the message out there that we need to take care of our man, okay? And I believe, and this is my opinion, this is Reginald Kearney's opinion, I believe the judge is a racist. I believe he's a Trumpster. I believe he's doing everything he can possibly do to look out for this young man. Now, he knows his boundaries, and he knows how far he can go. That's why there's no mistrial, okay? Yes, he admonished the prosecutor for doing something he hadn't even done yet.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, I know you, if I'm not mistaken, saying, I know you thinking about it, you know. So,
Yeah.
I really think he is leaning more towards the young man or the young fool or whatever you want to call him. Then he's leaning towards getting justice for him, because even before the trial, he came out and said you couldn't call these three people victims. They weren't victims.
Absolutely.
So I think
Can you ask for a mistrial after the verdict, or can that only be done during the trial?
During the trial.
Because
the prosecutor can appeal. The prosecutor can appeal, but most prosecutors don't appeal cases, after they've been determined and decide. Unless
if he gets off, they need to appeal and get a different judge.
Well, they can. I mean, it's going to be somebody out there that's probably going to file a complaint. They can file a complaint against the judge. He can get censored. There's a lot of different things you can do to go back at him. But I mean, like I said, I really feel like he's on the side of the defense. And
absolutely, during the trial, his phone rings, and what is the ringtone?
Yeah.
But one of the songs that was written expressly for one of Trump's, what do you call it?
Well, Trump didn't have nobody
campaigns.
Trump didn't write any campaign song. He was using everybody
he
else.
didn't. I said for him.
Yeah,
you had those 3 little girls that were singing a song that was written for him. You've had a few songs.
But that was the only one. Everybody else was suing him, trying to keep the music away from him.
Disgusting.
But this is the thing. He can be found guilty, but who has the final say so in the sentence? Okay? And that's going to be another problem, because they can find him guilty, and where he should spend up to life in prison, he could spend 1 day in jail.
Yeah, let's hope not.
Because this is the thing. If he's close to retirement, and he don't give a rest, you know what? He might say, "Hey, I can really make history. I'm gonna sentence you to 1 day in jail for this." Okay? You have a guilty record the rest of your life. You have a record the rest of your life, but you only get 1 day. I mean, so he's up to something. I mean, is obviously doesn't care for the prosecution. He favors the defense more than anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, he's the most you can do is file a complaint, and hopefully they'll look at it and say, we need to get you out of the courts and take your license, be a lawyer, and just put you out.
I tell you, again, the whole argument of self-defense just really irks me. And I think that we really do need to take another look at these gun laws that we have in this country. Because as I said during the beginning of the show, and this is in response to Bill O'Dell saying self-defense, which I think is complete bullshit, I might be willing to concede self-defense for the first individual, but not the next 2. You have 2 people in a crowd who hear or see another man shoot somebody. All they see is some man shooting somebody, no context. They also have weapons. One of them has a weapon. They could also claim self-defense. They want to stop what they perceive to be as an active shooter. No, I'm not going to stop, Bill. They perceive an active shooter on site. And like any hero would, looking to protect the people of those around him, look to seek to disarm the individual who had love these right-wing people. They first out of the gate with the insults. We're having an intellectual conversation, and he goes to the basest denominator. Way to go, Bill. Rapier wit knows no bounds. How do you discern the difference? So you have 2 different individuals who may not have seen what had happened moments before, approach each other with guns. I didn't say you were racist, Bill, but if the shoe fits, wear it proudly. Have the courage of your convictions. If 2 men with guns in a situation who may not have seen what had happened initially discover one another at an event, both think the other are active shooters, and one person dies or one person gets shot and the other doesn't, why does the notion of self-defense only work for one of them and not the other? And it's this kind of bizarro world, antithetical logic and hypocrisy about gun laws that I just don't understand. Say the cops had responded. How would they know who the bad guys are?
Well,
They all have guns, and it's a right to carry state.
yeah,
And you have an active shooter.
That's the whole problem you have is the right to carry. You know, if you go back and look in Georgia at the Ahmaud Arbery, the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, these guys were using antiquated law for citizens arrest. Okay, now, like Ruby said, she's not going to say that these men allegedly shot Ahmaud Arbery. They did shoot him. Okay, there ain't no alleged in it. You know, this man shot. Okay, but the lawyer, again, it comes down to our form of justice system. Okay, where you have that right to be exonerated. Okay, so what the defense lawyer did, he's taking a stance that, look, we're gonna hang our hat on citizens arrest. Okay, that's what we're gonna hang our hat on. Okay, regardless of what they say, this is where we're going. Now, another problem I have with that case also, you're in a county where the black population is like 19 to 24%. Okay, of the county population, but you only have one person of color as a juror. Okay, now this case should be a open and shut case because of the fact, like, if you looked at the news today, you saw where the type of gun he used. I mean, gosh, that you don't even hunt with that gun, the rifle he used. Okay,
no,
and it was pressed up against him, and the power behind that gun opened up a 5-inch hole in his t-shirt. So you know what his hole in his body looked like. And the guy said it almost broke all his ribs.
Yeah.
Okay. So that should be an open and shut case. Okay. But when you're looking at jurors today, you don't know what they're thinking and how they're feeling. Okay. You take your chance. In some states, you can go and say, look, I want a judge to make a determination. Okay. You're taking a chance there. Then you want to have your peers decide whether or not you're innocent or guilty. So it just comes down to the fact. It comes down to the point is you don't know what's going to happen when you go through those court doors. Okay, and that's why again I look at Blake's case. I mean, here's a man shot 7 times in his back. Okay, was he reaching? Okay. Just like with the other young man that got killed with the police officer out in Kenosha, a person training someone, thought he was reaching for a gun or a weapon. And she just, I thought this was my gun. I thought this was a taser, but she took out the gun. She knew exactly what the hell she was feeling, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the justice system, there's so much injustice, okay? You can't tell me under the Pledge of Allegiance or Constitution or whatever, justice for all. We don't get justice for all. Okay, it's there. The court system is there for everyone. But depending on your color, it's no justice for all.
I just have to make a comment, and then I'm going to move on because it makes me want to throw up. I hate it when trolls bring up, and racists bring this up as well. And I'm sorry, I'm going to call a spade a spade. Don't bring up the notion of black on black crime unless you're going to bring up the notion of white on white crime. Yeah. White people kill white people disproportionately high.
Higher than what blacks
higher.
Do, okay?
And then your focus is on the black community, like you care about us so much, when in fact you don't. But you never, do you not care about your own community? Do you not care about white on white crime? Or do you only care when a person of color or an immigrant kills a white person? It's perfectly fine when a white person kills a white person or their own children or their spouses. You don't get on your high horse and your fallacious, self-righteous podium about that. But in order to deflect from a legitimate conversation, you bring up the notion on black crime as if it is so significantly worse than white on white crime. So
and this
that shit, Bill.
And this is the thing. We're not even talking about black on black crime, Bill. We're talking about the injustices that take place in the court system when it comes to whites shooting or killing blacks, or when you have somebody like Kyle Rittenhouse being martyred. I mean, being made a martyr for something that he did that should be giving him an opportunity to go to jail for a little while. Okay, that's
he
what
had no business being there. He had no business being armed. These weren't his businesses. But he's out there with other supremacists who didn't even have his back when he was scared. This little boy who was not prepared to be in an environment like that, and he had no business being there. If I were to go fully armed to protect myself into the heart of KKK USA and wound up shooting somebody because I feared for my life, who would you support then? You would turn around and say you had no business being there. So I just, you know, the attempt at intellectual discourse that these folks make, and then they come up with these straw man, what they think are gotcha moments. I'm just so sick of it. I'm sick of it.
I mean, and then too, I'm looking at another, you know, thing that this person has posted talking about. I care about all crime, but the statistics bear out higher crime in the minority community. Okay, the minority community is smaller than the white community, and naturally, the statistics are going to be a little higher. The percentages are going to be a little higher in the minority communities. Okay?
But by volume, it is higher in the white community. But they never bring that up.
Yeah, they won't bring that point up. But you know, they look at and Bill, if you would go and do your research with the FBI statistics, you will see that the crime rate is higher in the white community. Okay, you know, it's out there. I've had this conversation with a number of people, lawyers, judges, over time, police officers, police chiefs, and we all agree that, you know, percentage-wise, because of a smaller population, you know, you're going to see a number that might be higher than what the national average is. Doesn't mean we all out here killing each other. Okay.
People who don't understand statistics making these comments.
Let's
annoying.
Let's get back to what the thing is, what we're talking about. Okay, so we've got, you know, with the justice system ever bear out and be our friend? I doubt it. You know, I really doubt it.
Not in our lifetime, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you know, you're going to continue to see crimes where people from the white community are going to continue to kill blacks for one reason or other and use lame excuses for the killings, and that's what it boils down to. You know,
or MAGA people, supremacists killing protesters because we know that they fetishize taking back the country.
Yeah.
And let me just say one more thing to Bill, and then that's the last bit of my attention he's going to get. Further evidence that you certainly have racist tendencies is that we're on this show here today to talk about the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And out of left field, you bring up black on black crime to deflect from the actual conversation that we're having. I think that says volumes. Have a nice day, sir.
Yeah. And the problem is, you know, it's out here. Okay. It's out here, and we know we have to be on guard about it because there is a segment of the white population that continues to get all bent out of shape because the numbers for minorities, people of color, are rising in this country, and they still have the tendency to feel like this country is theirs. Okay, you know, that they did everything, you know, and they did, you know, and so we just gotta look at everything through other filters and figure this thing out, you know. But you know, the justice system stinks at times. I mean, it really does, because you're always going to have the self-defense law. It's always going to be there. It's going to be up to the jury.
Except for us, it doesn't work for us.
And no, it doesn't. It doesn't. You know,
people come into our homes unannounced, and we shoot to defend ourselves, and they happen to be police officers who don't identify themselves, and we're in trouble for it.
It's just
and that doesn't only happen in the black community, Almai. We see that it happens a lot in the black community, but it has also happened to white people as well.
Yeah.
But you'll never see them get on a high horse, complain about that. You never see them get on a high horse and complain about police brutality against white people. And it happens, tasing them into a coma or death or heart attack. You never hear them complain about white on white crime. You never see them marching to protect their communities unless it is against immigrants and people of color. So again, I invite all of these people to sit down. I'm tired of hearing their mouth. Tony, why don't you come on, calm things down, and tell us what's on tomorrow night's show? Because I'm twisted.
You know, you have not been to that area in a long time, Miss Sheriff.
I'm sorry. It's just I am sick of that bullshit. It's bullshit. You're gonna come on here when we're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, a white man, white on white crime, and bring up black on black crime like it's some gotcha moment. I'm sick of it. You know, and these are white ring, Proud Boy, Boogaloo, and Coulter, freaking Carlson Tucker bullshit talking points, which are based on fraudulent statistics, which aren't even interpreted correctly. I'm sick of it. These half-baked people who think that they're intellects and having a conversation about something, and they're not even using facts. So take it somewhere else.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Let me say one thing. I was looking through what else he said. And one thing that bothers me about the white community, and I was telling one of my colleagues that day, and he's a Republican, and he's white, and we talk candidly about politics. You know, everybody's always talking about bring the races together, bring the races together. Why do we try to divide the races? Why? And when they're using that word why, they're talking about why do blacks try to divide by race and everything. You know, give me something to hang my hat on, and maybe I'll start talking about race, okay? You know, give me something to hang my hat on that's positive, that doesn't discriminate against me, doesn't, you know, show racism. Because like I gave him a perfect point today. If I go to the Louis Vuitton store in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, at the shopping center, and I'm dressed in my suit, my shoes are shining and everything, you know, I'm gonna get plenty of attention because they can think I got the money, which I do have the money to be in that store, okay? But most of the time when I'm
why though? It's crap.
Yeah, but most of the time when I'm away from the court, when I'm away from working and stuff like that, you know, I dress down. You know, I might throw on some jeans, a sweatshirt, some dirty tennis shoes. But if I go in that same Louis Vuitton store, I'm gonna be looked at differently, okay?
Yeah.
When America stops looking at me differently and stop looking at all of us differently, okay? White America, when you stop looking at us all differently, then maybe we can start work on reconciliation and trying to come together as brothers and sisters, okay? Until then, don't give me that BS about being divided, okay?
When they're the ones who divided us to begin with and created a caste system and all of this. But you know what? I'm not even mad anymore. I'm laughing because racists cannot help themselves and they will always out themselves and self-identify. This guy's trying to make himself out to seem like I support everybody. It doesn't matter. A thinly veiled threat if I had children. And then talks about Candace Owens. I'm sorry.
Well, the thing about it, what kills me too, they won't use that picture on that made up Facebook pages. They use a fake name, but they put a picture of a pet or a fowl or something like that. But Tony, tell us about the show for tomorrow night.
My question is, why are you bringing up, you know, putting hearts up for those who are black? Now, the only one that I can say I like is Condoleezza Rice. Bill, thank you very much.
Yeah,
but you throw these black names in the conversation as to say, yeah, we got a couple of Negroes on our side. So I'm like, I'm over it. So let's close this damn show. I cannot.
Bill,
and I'm not going to do this today.
Yeah.
I just can't. And I won't. God bless you, Bill. Thank you for listening in. Hope you come back and visit us again. We're here every Tuesday night.
Might learn something. Yeah.
At 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. Yeah, interesting show, you guys. Thank you so much for what
every
you
once
do.
in a while we pick up a fly in the ointment, you know.
Yeah. And you know what? Usually I would be upset with the Bills. You know, I'm so fucking over it.
Well, he took his mask off and thinks he's done something. So I'm not mad anymore. I think it's like a net. You know, it's like a net.
When I say God you, Bill, I mean that. I really do. Because I can't. I can't anymore. with all of the things that are being said and the things that are twisted and used to makes another person because of race feel a different way. And I'm done. All I can say is that at this age, I've lived it.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived
Mm-hmm.
it. So there's not a whole lot that Bill can tell
I mean,
me.
clearly Bill is a
in my
lonely
skin. I'm
individual.
black
He has
and
nothing
I'm a
better
woman.
to do than to troll
Well,
us.
Well, I don't think he's trolling. I think he actually is listening to the show. I mean, it's that, I would expect a troll to come out as they had in the past, with some really crazy ass stuff. If this is Bill's truth, this is Bill's truth. All I know is that I, as a black woman, have lived it.
Mm-hmm.
Both Reggie and I are at the age where we have lived through some crazy shit.
Yeah.
And no amount of bills throwing black Republican names at me is going to make me feel any different.
Another person who doesn't know what the
Because I
word
lived it.
racism means or racist. There is a
No,
difference
because
between prejudice and racist.
prejudice
They
and
don't seem to
racism.
grasp that concept.
No,
So-
that's another thing, but we're not going to address that. We're just going to go ahead and move on and wish him a good night.
Tomorrow's show. He's dismissed.
Yeah,
He means
Bill,
nothing.
you keep rambling too. See how far you get, buddy. All right.
Yeah.
God bless
So-
you, sir.
So
So
that's tomorrow's
anyway,
show.
so tomorrow night on Hot Topics Talk Radio, with Yvonne Baker and I, we're going to be talking about the differences between the very slim and the, I like to call, curvy women when it comes to men and their dating preferences. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, because I don't
Do you
believe
invite
in
Truth
calling
Brothers to
women
come in
fat.
contact? Comment on that and share their opinions.
I don't know. I don't know. But we got that lined up for you tomorrow night. Hot Topic starts at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 9 Central, 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Make sure that you find us on Facebook and the Hot Topics Talk Radio. Make sure that you come on back here for Real World News TV every Tuesday night. The show starts at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 Central, 8:30 on the East Coast with Miss Jerry Ann Tappan and Mr. Reggie Kearney. Make sure that you follow them on Facebook so that you can get show notifications. Thanks, Miss Jacqueline, for listening in. And who else do we have in here tonight?
Always good to see you, Jack.
Of course, Bill. Bill is all the way down. God. And Miss Lisa, right?
That's I think that's my cousin.
Yeah. So we do thank you for tuning in tonight here on Real World News TV, and we will see you back here next week for another great topic and commentary. Thank you, guys.
Our pleasure. Have a good show tomorrow night. If I stay up, I'll try to chime in, but you me.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll try.
We'll see you guys tomorrow night on Hot Topics Talk Radio. Good show, you guys. Good night.
All right.
Okay,
Good night.